Never seen that. Hands behind your back. Hands behind your back.
Y'all just ran me over, bro.
Earlier today, this story resurfaced in front of me, and almost instantly it felt different than it did the first time I saw it. It was a short, easy-to-miss article from 2 News Oklahoma, the kind you'd normally scroll past without a second thought. Tulsa police, a 24-year-old man named Camonte Hampton, a jaywalking stop that turned into a chase, and a patrol car that supposedly wasn't put in park and rolled forward, striking both an officer and Camonte. Authorities downplayed it immediately, saying the injuries were minor, nothing serious, nothing to see here. But reading it again today, one detail jumped out even louder than before. When 2 News later obtained the official arrest report, there was no mention that Camonte had been hit by a vehicle at all. Not a line, not a footnote.
What was the description?
Brutality. How to quit your...
Stop! Stop, police! Get on the ground right now. Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back. Got the hand. Go over your stomach.
Follow-up to the jaywalking case where the suspect was injured when an officer forgot to put a patrol car in park. We showed you this body cam video 2 News exclusively obtained from the backup officer who showed up after learning the jaywalking suspect had fled from police. But seeing that video led to more questions from you and us. What were the moments that led up to this incident with the first officer? So we asked for that video as well. Operating in what they called a zero-tolerance mode due to recent violent crime at 11th and Garnett, dashcam video shows a Tulsa police officer pull a U-turn. Camonte Hampton is crossing the street. Officers get out to talk to Hampton about jaywalking.
Hey, man, you just jaywalk. Come right over here. Come right over here. Right in front of my car. Hey, over here.
Hampton takes off, running around and through the hotel. The officer asks him to stop. This lasts 1 minute. Hampton slows when confronted by backup officers and begins to get on the ground. He is shoved. And moments after, while trying to handcuff, a patrol car, accidentally left unattended in reverse, goes over Hampton. We have not been showing the impact. This angle, not seen before, shows the officer trying to hold on to Hampton. It also shows an officer get thrown to the ground from the car's impact. Officers first talk about him before talking to him.
He's under here. He's under here.
30 seconds after the impact, this officer asks if he's okay.
Are you okay?
Can you crawl out?
Okay.
You stuck?
They pull him out and put him in handcuffs.
Hands behind your back.
This is when Hampton begins repeating.
Just ran me over, bro.
He says this 9 times. Very little is said back to him. They search his pockets. Paramedics arrive and take him to the hospital. Tulsa police told me they used jaywalking as probable cause to talk with someone further. For more on my previous conversation with police on this matter, you can find it at kjrh.com. Hampton was charged with jaywalking and obstruction for running. He faces a jury trial on October 20th. We were told his injuries from the car were minor.
Just silence where a life-altering moment should have been documented. That kind of omission doesn't happen by accident. So instead of dismissing it, I went back and waited for what really matters in cases like this, the body camera footage, because if the paper trail didn't tell the truth, the video eventually would. When I revisited this case today and the body cam footage finally entered the picture, it became immediately clear that the early reports barely scratched the surface. So before the video even rolls, the timeline matters. According to publicly reported details, this all traces back to about 2:45 in the afternoon on April 15, 2025, when Tulsa police claimed they noticed Camonte Hampton crossing the street near South Garrett Road and 11th without using a crosswalk. a minor infraction that somehow escalated when officers attempted to stop him, and he ran toward the nearby Southern Comfort Hotel. Instead of ending there, officers remained in the area, watching and waiting, until Camonte later reappeared, this time exiting the QT gas station right at that same intersection, and that's when the situation fully unfolded, with multiple patrol units converging almost at once. One of those cruisers belonged to Officer Caleb Strobel, whose body camera provides the perspective we're about to examine, even though his identity remains oddly abstract. There are no confirmed current photos released of him, no clear public image tied directly to this incident. Only an old, low-resolution clip and stills from years ago that may or may not even show the same officer, and throughout the body cam footage itself, his face is never visible. All of that context matters, because by the time the camera starts recording what comes next, the groundwork for everything you're about to see has already been quietly laid. Coming back to this today and rewatching the available footage, this is the point where the story takes its darkest turn, the moment everyone keeps talking about, but no one is actually allowed to see. This is when Officer Strobel's patrol car suddenly moves, and Camonte ends up underneath it while he's already on the ground, attempting to surrender, yet the most critical seconds of that incident were never released to the public, and even if they were, they'd never make it onto YouTube. What we do have starts immediately afterward, and honestly, that's where this encounter becomes deeply unsettling. From what's visible and from how the scene is positioned, it appears the officer stepped out of his cruiser believing it was secured, but the vehicle may not have been in park at all. Given the way he had just turned in and the angle of the wheels, the car seems to have rolled backward in a curved path, striking another officer and then fully running over Camonte as he lay on the pavement. None of this has been officially confirmed yet, and it's important to say that clearly. But when you line up the vehicle position, the movement, and what we can observe on camera, the sequence raises serious questions that go far beyond a simple mistake. Questions that likely won't be fully answered until more information is forced into the open. What makes revisiting this today so disturbing is realizing that the negligence didn't end when the patrol car rolled over Camonte, because what follows may be even harder to justify. After the impact, there's no pause, no visible effort to check his condition, no urgent call for medical help, no acknowledgement that a man has just been crushed beneath a police vehicle, and instead of treating the scene like a medical emergency, officers move straight into control mode, pulling him by the arms, dragging his body across the pavement, and locking him in handcuffs. This wasn't a scrape or a light collision. He wasn't brushed aside or knocked over. He was fully run over. The kind of incident that can cause catastrophic internal injuries, spinal trauma, or life-threatening bleeding that isn't immediately visible, yet he's handled like an active threat rather than someone who may be fighting for his life. Basic first aid and police training are clear on this point. You do not move someone who may have suffered serious trauma unless staying put puts them in immediate danger, and nothing in this moment suggests that was the case. Still, the footage shows officers hauling him across asphalt moments after running him over.
You guys just ran me over, bro.
A decision that directly conflicts with both medical common sense and Tulsa Police Department's own stated policy that the preservation of life is their highest priority, leaving a glaring question hanging in the air about how dragging an injured man into custody aligns with that mission at all. In my view, there is no reasonable explanation that makes this response acceptable. Coming back to this today, this is where the official footage cuts off, but the real consequences only begin to surface afterward. Reports say Officer Caleb Strobel walked away with what police described as minor injuries and was cleared at the scene, while details about Camonte Hampton's condition remain noticeably vague even now, despite video showing him repeatedly saying he had been run over. What didn't take long to appear were the charges against Camonte himself, misdemeanor improper walking and obstructing an officer, And on June 12th, a Tulsa judge ruled that the case wouldn't be quietly dismissed, ordering it to proceed to a jury trial, with later court scheduling pushing it further into the year. As the footage spread online and public reaction intensified, Tulsa police shifted into what looks very much like damage control mode, issuing statements and interviews that seemed more focused on justification than accountability. A department captain publicly framed the aggressive jaywalking enforcement as something driven by community complaints and suggested that Camonte's decision to flee was what escalated the encounter, a narrative that has sparked sharp criticism because it still leaves one central question unanswered. How does a stop for crossing the street end with a man pinned beneath a police cruiser? As of now, there's still no confirmed civil lawsuit on record, but legal analysts and advocates have made it clear that the absence of a filing doesn't mean the issue is settled, only that the fallout from this incident is still unfolding. Looking at this again today, it's hard not to see how closely this situation tracks with other high-profile negligence cases that have already been tested in court, especially the Urini Rios incident, where officers handcuffed a woman and left her inside a patrol car parked on active train tracks, a case that ultimately revolved around basic failures of care rather than split-second judgment. Under Oklahoma law, negligence isn't complicated or abstract. It comes down to whether an officer owed a duty to act reasonably, failed to do so, and caused foreseeable harm as a result. And based on what's publicly known, that legal framework fits this case uncomfortably well. At the very least, failing to properly secure a patrol vehicle before exiting could expose Officer Straubel to ordinary negligence. But when that same vehicle rolls, strikes another officer, and fully runs over a suspect who is already on the ground, legal analysts have pointed out that the conduct begins to edge toward gross negligence or even recklessness. The situation doesn't stop there because dragging Camonte across the pavement and restraining him, instead of treating the scene as a medical emergency, opens the door to additional claims, including battery and negligent infliction of emotional distress, arguments that have succeeded in similar cases nationwide. Urini Rios ultimately received an $8.5 million settlement, and officers involved in that incident faced criminal consequences. And while no one can say yet whether this case will follow the same path, the precedent already exists, and revisiting it now makes it clear that the legal roadmap for how this could unfold has been drawn long before Camonte ever crossed that street. Coming back to this again today, it's clear this story is far from over, and the developments since the body cam footage went viral have only made it more intense and controversial. After the video showed a Tulsa police cruiser rolling over Camonte Hampton during a jaywalking stop, city leadership stepped in and ordered a full internal review, signaling this is not just a routine police matter. Officers pulled Camonte out from under the vehicle while he repeatedly cried, "Y'all just ran me over, bro!" Yet he was still arrested and not immediately treated for potential injuries, which police later described as minor. The case against him for misdemeanor jaywalking and obstruction has been set for a jury trial in October, pushing this incident back into the public eye and ensuring it won't be quietly forgotten. Tulsa PD spokespeople have tried to frame the officer's actions as responding to community concerns about crime, but critics point out that no explanation justifies how a patrol vehicle ended up running over a compliant suspect. The scrutiny at both the departmental and city level shows this story is still developing, and as legal filings and community reactions continue to surface, the narrative keeps evolving. This is exactly why I'm revisiting it today, and why I'll continue to follow it closely, bringing updates as they matter. If this case resonates with you, your voice counts. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Engage in the conversation. Like, share, and most importantly, subscribe to the Untold Crime Chronicle so you never miss an update on stories like this. Thank you for watching, and I truly appreciate your support.